show you different mechanisms to send user information to Zscaler to guarantee uniqueness. So I've got no users in my platform at the moment. I will show you, I'm on Zscaler 3 for my demo, and the company profile, I have one single domain associated with Zscaler. So that means that the name ID, the SAML subject that is returned to us in the assertion, doesn't need to be fully qualified. If there are multiple domains, if you have more than one domain, then every name ID needs to be unique, and the suffix needs to match a domain on the tenant. So let's take a look at the authentication settings. Identity providers. I've very simply got Azure AD configured. Azure AD is going to send a login name, a login attribute with name ID, display name with a capital N for the display name, department all lowercase, and member of for the group attributes. And we come across to Azure AD. We take a look at this. So the department, I'm going to send the company name attribute from the person document. The display name is going to actually be the user principal name, because I want to capture that. And the member of will be the groups the user is member of. And then the unique identifier, the name ID. I can't change the namespace on this, so it will always be SAML subject and display the name ID. And the format, I'm going to send it as unspecified, but obviously the alternative email address or whatever. And so in this instance, I'm going to send the object ID. Okay. And so what we'll do is we'll use a SAML tracer, and I will show you how this works. So I'm going to generate an SP initiated request. So it's we'll use Zscaler 3, and this simulates the way the client authenticates. So it generates the SP initiated request. I log into Azure, and I'm redirected back. It'll happen transparently because my client is signed into Azure. But if we look at the data, so I've just pasted that in here. We can see the time, 0928 Zulu, 0928. We have an issuance instance. We have an assertion ID from the response that matches with the auth-n request, and this is the response. So those two identify that it's part of the same authentication round. It's digitally signed. We've got the signature in there and the certificate. And here you can see the name ID comes through as an unspecified, and the subject, the attribute value is name ID, and we get the UUID or the object ID for that unique identifier of the user. And then it's sending through member of, it's sending through display name, and it's sending through the department from the person document. And I can let's close this down, and we'll come across to my portal here, and we'll take a look at users, and we can see that the user is automatically being created with the appended suffix at welshgeek.net, and that's the UUID that came across. Username is the user principal name. And if we take a look at this, the username is actually the display name attribute that is being populated there. The groups that were sent across, the department is the company that I sent across, and all of that. So that's one way to guarantee uniqueness. If you've got, let's say, users with the same user principal name, or you're doing federation across multiple tenants, and a user Mark might exist in one and Mark might exist in another, but they'll have a unique UUID. So if you return the UUID, that's the unique value, so that the two users don't clash, even though they might have the same display name of Mark, bizarrely. So let's look at changing the user principal name. So here we're sending user principal name as an unspecified attribute. So what we'll do now is we'll make it a transformation, and we'll do a regex replace, and we'll take in user principal name, and then we'll do a regular expression match replace. So what we'll do is we'll take the username at the domain, and we'll take username and domain as variables, and then we'll replace it, and we'll say the username, everything before the at, underscore the domain, underscore ext at the domain. We can do a test, so we put in mryan@welshgeek.net, which is my user principal name, and the result of the transformation is that. So transformation, pretty standard thing for the SAML IDP to do. We're not changing any of the attributes on the user. In the user document in AD, we're just changing the way that it is issued to the IDP. So let's take a look at this. We'll just refresh this page, and that's all okay. And then I will clear all my stored messages here. Okay, so we'll go CL start again, start, and we'll select Zscaler 3, does the SAML SSO, and we're signed in. And we can now click on the message. Let's copy the message to the clipboard, and we'll paste it in here. And you can see now that the NameID includes that format. So it means that if I had multiple domains within my account, or indeed I was doing an IDP proxy across to multiple other IDPs, and I couldn't control what or how they were going to return their NameID to me, my IDP can just transform that and emit that claim in a standard way that Zscaler can consume. I'm still sending all of the other attributes. My display name is the user principal name that was sent, or it could be any other attribute. These are all free form. Department is free form, and then the groups that are coming across. And so we come back to the Zscaler admin interface and refresh this page when it lets me. And you can see now we've got that user has been created. So let's go ahead and look at Zscaler Client Connector. Let's install this. So we'll initiate it with my specific domain, with Zscaler 3 on there. So we're tying the installer or Zscaler client to automatically attempt to sign in to these to this tenant on this cloud. Once that's installed, we see that we don't get the option to enter any credentials. Automatically attempts to sign in. In this case, I will still get my multi-factor authentication. I am obviously signing into Azure here as mryan@welshgeek.net. That could be whatever domain I sign into the IDP with, because the IDP is going to transform my user principal name and emit it in a format that Zscaler can consume. So if we open this up now, we can see that it's signed me in for Zscaler Internet Access. The username is mryan_welshgeek.net. welshgeek.net _hashext at welshgeek.net. I haven't configured any profiles or anything, forwarding mechanisms. So if I go to ip.zscaler.com, that shows me correctly signed in. Go to cat.com, which isn't a website about cats. And I come in here and I look at my analytics, web insights. We can look at the raw logs for the last 5 minutes and click apply filters. Look at the log time, we're a couple of minutes behind. We'll see data flowing into here very shortly. Transforming the name ID is a simple way to, when you're unsure of the username that's going to be coming through, you might have multiple domains, multiple untrusted domains, you might have guest users signing in to a guest portal where they might be logging in with their email address. Now, email address is at gmail.com. We can't have at gmail.com associated with multiple Zscaler tenants, but they are signing into your tenant. And so taking bob at gmail.com and transforming that to bob_gmail.com_ext at mydomain.com is a totally valid way to consume that identity, count it against your license count, and then be able to apply policy and see that user traffic come through. We're obviously not seeing the logs. We're going to think, we refresh again, where are we, 5736. We'll refresh that again. There we go, we start to see the traffic coming through and it's accounted to this user. There we go. How to sign in with multiple different mechanisms for issuing that SAML assertion, doing a transformation, or sending unique values like the UUID, mean that we guarantee uniqueness across customer tenants.